the ashes, the spirits light up the night, looking down the edge of forever. So stop me or take my advice.
Now, from the Untold Radio Network, it's Untold Radio AM with Doug and Alex Hychak.
You're back.
I'm back. Huh?
I was going to say you're back.
Oh, yeah, I'm back. Yeah, that was quite a journey.
Oh, yeah. Quite the adventure, huh?
I got a lot of emails, a lot of texts like, how was Snellgrove? How was Snellgrove? What happened? What happened? I'm not going to get into any details, but, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later, but yes, it was very active. And yes, we almost died coming home.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a pretty dangerous trip. And of course, they want, people want to go again next year.
Of course.
I felt like I had 9 lives, had used them up on the way home due to weather. But to the pilot, I have to say, very calm. I don't think I would have been with any other pilot that could have been that calm. Super calm.
He was really calm and collected.
Yeah, I think any other pilot would have been with would have done an emergency landing. Yep, almost positive. But they just cleaned their glasses and just kept picking out little things that they could see, little treetops. We were flying over the tops of the trees pretty close.
So it was just being in that little float plane.
Well, yeah, because, literally the ceiling started coming down. They cannot punch above the clouds. So as the clouds come down and start touching the treetops, you've got to go below that, and you're touching the treetops. They can be smacking right into the floats of the airplane.
So would you say a couple feet and you would have hit a tree?
Yeah, and then you've got fog that moves in. We had fog too.
So it sounds like zero visibility.
Come down right to the treetops. We had fog move in and high wind. So bad combo. Let's put it this way. I was talking to the Lord for a minimum of 1 hour. So, anyway.
Yeah.
But so tonight we've got a great show. It's episode 156, as I remember. That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, which is incredible.
It's August 30th, 2023. We've got Michael Kameron.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you say it?
Cameron.
Just Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And Michael wrote a book with the title of High Strangeness, A Lifetime of Alien and Paranormal Encounters. Now, I don't know Michael. I've never talked to Michael. You have.
Yeah.
So this is kind of your baby.
He seems my baby. He seems very sincere.
I'm just saying,
excited.
I haven't talked to him.
Yeah.
I've been gone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it's going to be great. He's.
I'm sure it will. Yeah. You always pick good guests. Sometimes I pick a few, right?
All your guests are amazing. I'm just trying to keep up.
Yeah. So anyhow, back to Snellgrove just a little bit. Literally, we had so much activity. One person in the group who is a extremely seasoned veteran researcher, extremely seasoned, he coined a new phrase for some of the activity. He actually had to coin a new phrase.
He coined a new phrase.
And I wasn't even there because I flew out 1 day early, just 1 day early. And they were 1 day behind me. But it was that day, and that's usually when things go really nuts, is the day of leave. But it started day 1, day 2, and then we had really bad weather. We had hard rain. So needless to say, your dad fished in the rain every day. Cleaned tons of fish. Cooked lots of potatoes. Cooked a lot of fish. If I don't see another fish cut for a while, I'll be okay.
The food must have been amazing, though.
It was. Yeah, the first time, because we pretty much caught everything we ate. And that first feast, the short
Oh
lunch
yeah,
feast
the
was
short
really a
lunch.
feast, and it was good. I mean, everybody, there wasn't one thing left over. It was just gone, everything. But it was good. I literally came close to being in tears because it's been 8 years since I've been up there. So
So it must have been pretty powerful to be back.
it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was very powerful. Yep. People up there can testify. But what a great group. Everybody just had we had fun, but everybody was very focused. It's really weird to be with a group of people that don't talk about other topics. That other topics were never brought up, the normal guy things,
Yeah.
whether it's sports, sex, or whatever. Never, nothing. Bigfoot, 24/7.
What more could you ask for?
Exactly. But it was a great group, and they're already planning next year. So
That's cool. That's super cool.
yeah,
But man, scary though. Just trying
yeah,
to get there. You know.
yep. And yes, I filmed. I was the camera guy. I was the sound guy. I was everything. I was I cooked. Joe obviously helped a lot with cooking.
Yeah.
But we just it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work.
Yeah, to just feed all those people and cleaning fish is not easy.
Cleaning fish? No, it's not.
No.
Not when you're doing, that many in a row. But there was a gentleman there. I don't even know if people want to give me their names. Maybe I'll ask them maybe next time. I'll mention who was up there, but I didn't get their permission, so I'm not going to mention. I don't want them to get hounded. But everybody pitched in literally. I mean, it takes a group. You can't do an expedition of that magnitude without everybody helping constantly. Yep. Yeah. And I had my moments where I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I felt fear like that, but when your heart is racing, you don't really know what's going to happen next.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Quite a feeling because there's no help. You're not getting in your car and driving home.
No, or calling the police.
You're not calling anybody. You're just you're there. Somebody wants to come in and eat you, they're going to come in and eat you. No, we have no weapons. It's nothing. So, anyhow. Oh, yes. I was going to mention, too, I come into chat, and it's just like a bunch of friends. It really is.
It's nice.
It really is nice. It's super nice.
Everyone was nice to me while you were away.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, John was especially.
Yep.
John
He was on
Ayers.
his best behavior.
Best behavior. He's the wittiest man in the world.
He is.
I'm convinced.
Outside of you?
I'm not witty. So we've got Charlie J. We've got, see who else we know? Uncle Bones. We've got Catherine Fourfeathers, Patrick Collins, Jennifer Arnold, Karen Taylor. We've got John Baranachuk, Flat Rockland, Deborah Irvin, Arthur Watch. What? I guess that you would say a watch, huh, Arthur? It's a watch.
Yeah, so, Loretta.
And I can keep going, but anyhow.
Loretta asks if I get scared when you go on these trips.
Do you worry about your old dad?
Oh, yeah. Especially when my God. When I was
if you
kid,
die up there, die up there, they just tie you to the dock like a fish. Keep your body cool. Literally.
Oh my
that's what we're instructed to do.
Horrible.
Yep. I'm not joking.
I mean, I buy it. It's just it's scary to think about.
Yeah, if you have a heart attack, it's goodbye. It's actually where I wanted to be buried up there at Snellgrove, and they somebody cut the tree down. I called it the Snellgrove Pine Boy because it looked like a kind of a person at top. Long story behind the Snellgrove Pine Boy. But every year he'd come greet that tree, because it was exactly the same. Never changed. And I was almost in tears. It's gone.
Oh.
Somebody cut it down for firewood, maybe. I don't know.
Man,
could have been a storm.
How old do you think that tree was? Hundreds of years old?
400, 500 years. 30, 40 feet tall. That's it.
Wow.
Everything grows slow up there. If you damage the moss, you could be looking at many centuries just to repair it. You know, the lichen and so on.
Sad.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. But anyhow, what else do we got here? Let's change the topic. Okay, speaking of being scared, I bet these boys were scared. So the biggest, most massive alligator was captured in Mississippi. And I believe in Monster Quest we filmed one bigger in the Florida Everglades. Did I say Everglades?
I think you said Everglades.
No, I think I said Everglades. Anyhow, so do you want to throw up the photo of this massive alligator that they got, Nick? It's amazing.
Yeah, look at this thing.
So prehistoric.
It looks like a dinosaur.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. That's the new state record. It was, can you guess how big that thing was, Alex?
300 pounds. Higher, lower?
Way higher.
Way higher. 600?
Higher?
1,000?
No, 766.
Wow.
14 feet and 3/4 long. 3/4 of an inch long. Yeah, it was a big fish.
Yeah, you know what? I thought they were carrying this thing, but I see that it's like on this forklift.
Oh, yeah, no. They're not lifting that thing. Are you kidding?
Oh, yeah, they got me.
No way. Anyhow, enough of that crap. But have you ever, like one of the things, like up at Snow, I don't think there's any poison ivy at all. But they've got, people are getting a little more conscious about using chemicals on killing weeds along trails where people walk with their kids. So they have a new, very, very high-tech method for getting rid of poison ivy now along hiking trails. Do you know what it is?
What is it?
They're using something they call a ruminant. You ever heard that word? Ruminant? Anybody? Ruminant.
No.
Very high-tech. It's a goat. They're using goats.
It's a goat.
It's a goat. It's just a goat. So they come in and they kind of fence off the area and they let the goats go to work. They love to eat poison ivy. Could you imagine?
I can't believe it.
Yeah. Anyhow, I guess there probably is some way one could eat it, but there's that, they call it, it's Ushaya oil.
What's that?
That's the oil that makes you itch,
Scab
up, burn. And Ushaya oil, if you burn it, it goes in the air and people can breathe it in their lungs and they can get it on their skin. I mean, that's happened to friends of mine where they've been, camping and some person will throw poison ivy in the campfire and everybody gets it. Yep.
Yeah.
Or neighborhoods. I've heard of whole neighborhoods getting poison ivy where somebody will burn a big patch of it. And then tons of people who are, more allergic to it.
Yeah, they just get it everywhere.
Yep. So that's a ruminant. A ruminant is anything. It's a even-toed, ungulate mammal that chews the cud that's regurgitated. I know that sounds fun. That's from its rumen. Right?
Yeah.
The ruminants comprise of cattle, sheep, antelope, steer, giraffes, and their relatives. Got it?
Got it.
So if you puke and chew, you're a ruminant.
Ruminant.
Yeah, puke and chew.
Puke and chew.
Okay, enough of that crap. Oh, you want to? Oh, no. It's not enough. Play the video. I sent you a little video. Video 1.
You talking about clip 1 or?
No, video. No, not clip 1. Video 1. There's no, never mind. Doesn't matter. Everybody knows what a goat is. It's kind of fun watching them chew poison ivy, though.
Oh, I see what you sent me.
Oh, yeah.
Let me.
Would you rather label them with a long serial number?
No.
It's like video 1. Did I stump you, Alex? It is confusing. Yeah, there you go. See? Goats eating poison ivy along trails. The only problem is What are they going to do? They're going to eat that, then they're going to poop poison ivy seeds.
Oh,
So now the poison, I mean, I personally think it gets rid of it temporarily, but I think it's going to come back with a vengeance. Put poison ivy seeds in the poop, and now you've got poison ivy fertilized, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just look like you're just wide-eyed looking at that. I should have taken you to more petting zoos when you were young.
All I remember is you got to keep your head flat.
All right, next. It's nothing to do with what we just watched. The opposite of a ruminant, an electric car. So what would you guess how many electric cars were sold in the U.S. last year? Let's take a wild step.
A million.
1 million. It's not a bad guess. Anybody else in chat? Come on, you guys can type fast. Just take a guess. No guessers. 300,000. That's it.
300,000.
New electric vehicles were sold in the United States. Oh, no. I misread this. See, fake news. Here I am. In the second quarter. That was 1 quarter. So, Alex, you were right.
Oh, bang on.
Oh, my God.
Wow, I need a donut.
That's 50% up from last year. So apparently cost reductions in raw materials needed to make batteries and electric cars such as lithium, nickel, and cobalt. Apparently the price came down. The average price of an electric car is what? Can you guess that?
37,000.
53K is the average price of an electric car. Yep. And I sent you photo one, which is quite interesting. Really is, if you think about it. Because people think, well, you know how there's dangers, like you can't smoke, you shouldn't use your cell phone, which is all true when you're fueling your car. You should shut your car off. But what about this? Throw up photo one.
Yeah, this is a problem.
That's a problem. They should have thought. That's kind of a low-lying area there.
Would you fill up here?
No, because an electric car has got some serious voltage.
Oh my gosh.
Way more than your outlet.
I'm surprised there's not a car somewhere in here trying to.
I'm one of the few people that have survived touching red and black together on a lithium battery.
Oh.
Yeah, it's quite the spark show. So there you go. It's a problem. All right, let's go right to our clips. So we're going to move this along.
Let's do
Clip
it.
one, and we'll you can do your little whatever you do. There you go, clip one, and the sound is good. And this is how all of our listeners can ID owls by sound. Perfect for radio.
It sounds like someone absolutely screaming.
Can you
It's
crank it?
owl.
Start it over and crank it. There you go. Now start it
If
over.
it sounds like someone absolutely screaming, it's a barn owl. If it sounds like your kettle is ready, it's a snowy owl. If it sounds like what you're expecting an owl to sound like, it's a great horned owl. Or quite possibly a mourning dove.
And what amazed me is they do not have the barn owl in there, which sounds like maniacal monkeys.
Maniacal monkeys.
That's what barn owls sound like to me. Okay, moving on. Clip 2. Sound is fine. But I want everybody in chat to guess, post it in the comments after tonight. What animal is this swimming? What do you think this is? It's going to swim from there right to shore. What animal is this? Alex, start guessing. Come on. You get one guess.
A muskrat.
You get 3 first, 2 don't count.
A turkey, a muskrat, a squirrel.
No. No way.
I don't know what that is.
You're never going to guess what this is when it comes
It's a
out
beaver?
long. No, none of you'll ever guess.
A rabbit?
It's a rabbit.
Oh, jeez.
that crazy?
Yeah.
Nobody ever thinks of rabbits swimming. Nobody.
No. Clearly, I didn't do it.
No, I've never seen a rabbit swim. Okay, clip 3. Sound is great. This may be, don't play yet. This may be the best UFO footage I've ever seen. Doesn't mean it's the best you've ever seen. Doesn't mean it's the best the world's seen. But I did work on analyzing this. This is by far the best UFO footage I've ever seen. It even beats what I've shot myself. And I shot a broad daylight UFO too. This is amazing. Go ahead and play it. Sound is good.
1,000 feet up now, I'd say. Wow, look at that. Nobody's going to believe us except I got it on film, huh? I keep losing it. There it is.
I can't get it.
It's pretty good.
What do you think?
There goes a jet right by it. Well, a little
It
higher.
looks huge.
There's a jet.
I don't think it's
And there's
huge.
the
I'm
saucer.
estimating about 40 foot in diameter.
Okay.
I got a better view of it
It's a lot
now.
lower in the sky.
But it's behaving just like the UFOs been reported. Yeah, this footage is not
Wow.
fake in my best estimation. Right?
It must be about 3,000 feet up now, I'd say.
No exhaust.
Wow, look
So
at
anyway,
that.
enough of that crap. Nobody cares, do they? You care?
I care.
Does anybody care about UFOs anymore? I don't know.
John cares.
John cares?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's gonna say he doesn't.
So people are saying that enough of that crap needs to be on a t-shirt.
Oh,
Alex, can you make some enough of that crap t-shirts?
yeah. Would you
Okay.
wear it?
Would I wear it? No, I'm the one that says it.
You know what it says? Everyone else
I'm
has
not
to
going
wear
to
it.
wear it. We'll definitely, Charlotte definitely gets a free one. Got to send her one.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want
All right, what do we
ugly
got? Clip 4. These are just words of wisdom. There's a little music in here. Maybe we shouldn't play it. There's a little, it's that bed music.
Yeah, let's not.
Okay, not. I know it
Yeah.
well. All right, so just play the footage. Okay. She starts talking about how they injected adrenaline into these trees. They're cedar trees that normally hibernate, right? They it's like all trees in the autumn. Even in Florida, they shut down. They lose their leaves. Cedar trees don't lose their leaves, but they rest. They still go into a resting state. So they injected them with adrenaline, and they died.
Oh.
And her point was that all of us need a rest now. All living things, trees, mushrooms, need to rest and kind of be reborn, And that's the words of wisdom in that video. You cannot keep a tree up past its bedtime, which is once a year in the autumn, in the fall, in the winter. Can't do it. It was a cool experiment, I guess. I learned from that, but I don't know. All right, clip 5. This, I have no idea if this is real. Just hang on a second. First off, why is he using a damn bottle opener for a microphone? Is that a type of microphone?
Yeah, it's a little like headphone mic.
Well, it looks like a potato peeler. to me.
Yeah, I know it does. He's got the cord all wrapped
Carrot
up.
peeler, whatever. I'm worried like he's going to cut himself when he's talking. Okay. And I have no idea if this is real. Didn't check into it. Didn't vet it. You guys are all welcome, but it's kind of interesting. If it is true, it certainly could be. So if this leaked out of the government files, go ahead and play it.
Has just been discovered about the missing flight MH370. It happened a while ago. Many of you know it here, but this has just been found. Now, I'm no expert, but this is supposed to be some sort of satellite imagery of the plane. You can see it flying right here. This is
So
the
he's
flight
saying that's the
MH370.
plane.
Now, you're going to see some crazy stuff start to happen. There's this object, number one, that starts circling the plane. All of a sudden, there is a second object, and then a third object. You see them swirling in this like organized fashion around the plane. You can see the satellite image changing positions. And I really, literally at a loss for words. Like, what the heck? These things are circling the plane like they're trying to do something. And then all of a sudden, the plane is going to go poof and disappear. Look at it's just gone. What the heck is happening? Is this legit? Like, what the freak is happening?
Exactly. Is it legit?
Yeah. Is it? Do you think?
I don't know. To me, it doesn't necessarily look legit. He didn't say where it came from. I think he mentioned like some government, whatever, leak.
So that's the issue, right? Look, who
knows? This? Okay, so the next one is a real clip of UFOs that was caught live by the news, by Fox News 6.
Super cool.
It's kind of cool because it's a fleet of UFOs. You can play that with sound.
Are those fireworks?
I love the reaction.
What is that? I don't know.
What the heck
What is that?
That's a very typical reaction.
Actually, yes.
Okay.
Can you?
See it. Okay. It's getting weirder by the second.
I know.
They're sticking around.
We're gonna.
There we go.
There's tons of them.
This is what they were seeing. These are those things I keep playing because I find these really interesting. Because I think they're alive. I think they're creatures.
You think they're like?
I don't think they're craft at all.
Organic.
I think they're organic as well. Yep, some kind of creature. Some kind of a creature that eats metal or I don't know. It's weird. I saw one myself up close when we were coming back on Radisson Road. It came literally out of the woods near the County Airport. Came out right over the top of my car. Yvette was in the car too. She saw it. It's changing colors, but sparks were just coming out of it like crazy. It looked like it was dying. Like literally, you could feel the death of this thing. And it went right into the woods and got on a downward trajectory, but into the forest.
Weird.
And it went, I mean, I got a good look at it. And it was going slow too. I'd say 5 miles an hour. Meteorites don't go 5 miles an hour, right?
No, they don't.
And I don't think it was much bigger than a beach ball. Could have been a soccer ball. So, yeah, we live in a weird world. So, what's that? Get rid of that. That's not ours. Okay. Next, we're almost done here. Clip 7 is just kind of interesting. It's a huge dragonfly. It's got a very, very interesting face. And when she zooms in on it, dragonflies
Look at this thing's face. He's sitting right here nice and still, letting me take a video of him. Oh my god, that is gorgeous.
The dragonfly's reaction is funny.
He's wondering what I'm doing. I wonder, oh wow.
They're intelligent.
Thinking right
Dragonflies are really intelligent.
You check your blood sugar and you check it off, and there's no reason not to. And
what the heck is that audio? You're just kind of streaming right into the next one there.
They literally went into a Liberty.
Went into what? A commercial?
Yeah, went into a Liberty medical commercial.
Huh. Okay. Okay, clip 8. This is not a UFO. This is just Starlink. But we remember when you were over, Blaine was over, Josh.
Yeah.
And we saw this. I just want to share footage of what Starlink looks like because a lot of people have not seen it. It's pretty amazing. And this is, I guess, after they're launched and they're real organized. And it's huge at arm's length. I would say it's about a foot wide.
Wow.
Go ahead and play it.
Yeah, they're big. Look at that.
Yep, that's Starlink. But a lot of people are still freaking out thinking it's UFO when they first see it because they hadn't heard about it. They don't know. Has everybody in the audience seen this? Please chat about it. I'm curious how many people have seen this in the sky yet. I believe you can see it every night. If it's a clear night, just go out and wait. You will see it. It's pretty cool. Okay, what else we've got? We've got clip 9. Sound is good. That's the important part of it. It's more of these weird sky sounds that people are reporting. I've heard these myself. I know they're real. Go ahead and play it. Quite scary.
That is terrifying.
It is terrifying, and people describe it as train-like. The one in Minnesota that went on, and literally tons of people heard. I heard it. Sounded like a freight train going through the air. Just kept going and going and going and going. Very metallic, like metal rubbing against metal. That kind of that trumpety, but yet like a train braking, like going, but still it's got its brakes on. That's the way I'd describe it. So, clip 10 is just fun. It's insane. I've never seen anything like this. You wonder why the military doesn't buy a whole bunch of these, that this guy doesn't build. It seems like it's indestructible. You got to see this thing. Sound is good. This is what I want to do in the morning when I go to get coffee at Starbucks. I want to go right in the drive-thru and just start doing loops. Play it one more time. That thing's nuts.
Getting a coffee.
Yeah, there I am. That's it. If I could, I would. There we go. What are your thoughts when I play a dumb clip like that?
I'm just, how do you find these gems?
Oh, yeah, right. Oh my God. All right, so we'll go to our guest, Michael Kameron, here in just a second, and you've got a couple of little deals to play. Oh, by the way, we're done with SquatchCon.
Yes.
Turned out really good. People apparently can still watch it, right?
Yeah, you guys still have an opportunity right now.
Yeah, it'll be taken down at some point soon, but
yeah, we do have the recording if you guys want to check it out.
Yep. Or new people won't be able to watch, but the people that paid for it, can't they watch it like indefinitely?
Yeah.
Oh, indefinitely, like for the next
1,000 years.
1,000 years, it'll still be there.
You want to watch it every night until the end of time.
You know who I was really impressed with? Was every single person on that roundtable discussion.
They were awesome.
Cliff, Jeff Meldrum,
and Michael Freeman too.
Brockman. Michael Freeman was amazing.
Amazing.
Like, you just listen to him, and it's like, who trained him to speak with such authority? And
I know, I was getting jealous.
People were saying, that convinced my wife that these things are real, that conference that we threw. So it was cool. Cool. Anyhow, all right, you can go to your spots, and we'll come back with Michael.
All right, quick break, and we'll be right back, guys.
Yep.
Greetings and salutations to everybody out there in Untold Radio Land. This is Brendan Brown, host of the fastest 30 minutes in the cryptid world, This Week in Bigfoot. Here's what we got coming up on this Friday's show. In Southeast Kentucky, where Bigfoot go to bury their dead, at least one researcher, Thomas Markham, poses that question. Mike Lucci takes a look at Germany's new Wolfman photo like only he can. Snowwalker's at it again with another hilarious 2 minutes with, and it's Legend Meets Science 2 update time with the boss himself as Doug Hychek stops by the studio to fill us in. These stories and a whole lot more this Friday night at 8:15 on the next This Week in Bigfoot, only on CARC Universal. You better be there.
Show your support for the Untold Radio Network family of shows and join in on the conversation by using super stickers and super chats on YouTube. Got a question you want answered? Ask it live via a super chat and get real-time responses from our shows, knowledgeable hosts, and guests. Help keep the Untold Radio Network shows running strong. We need your support. Send your super chats and stickers now.
Hey Untold Radio Network fans. Want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
And we're back.
Yeah. So apparently Michael Kameron, I love this. He was just an ordinary person. There's no such thing as an ordinary person. Is there? Is there?
He's as close to ordinary as
Close
you
to
can get
ordinary person as a person could be. So he's experienced being normal, I guess. No paranormal activity.
Yeah.
And suddenly his life changed with some very strange, apparently alien abductions. That's cutting to the chase. Strange mystical beings. This goes way back from his childhood, his adult life. So, I guess, he had a backdrop of a strict Catholic upbringing. And those two really don't mix, do they? So who did he talk to? That's one of my questions. If you can't talk to your parents, who did he go to, or did he just hold it in? But anyhow, I don't know if you want to read more, you're welcome to, but I just assume have him tell his own story.
Perfect.
All right.
Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, Michael.
Hi, Doug. Hi, Alex. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. You're, of course, you're in the UK, correct?
I am, yes.
What time is it there right now?
It's gone just probably about 1:45.
It's early. So we really appreciate this. Super. So anyhow, you have a book out. So we want to get that right up front. You have a great book out entitled with the main title, High Strangeness. And we'll get into that towards the end here. I really want to get into the book. But what in the world happened? I mean, how did this all start for you? And who in the hell did you talk to when these experiences started happening with this, Roman Catholic upbringing?
Well, you know what? I was born in, as you said, I was born in London. I was born in the East End of London, which was in between the City of London and the Tower of London. I was raised, as you said, in a strict Irish Roman Catholic family and environment. And I was brought up in a schoolhouse within the grounds of a school that myself and my brother, who is 2 years older than me, Sean, who's mentioned in the book, we went to this school. So my dad was the schoolkeeper to this school, and it was owned by the Roman Catholic Church. So, and the book itself focuses primarily on my experiences in this house, in my childhood home, and in this school and the school grounds itself. It started for me really is when my grandmother on my mum's side, when she died, I often say to people, when she died, I was coming into the world. So I was returning when she was leaving. But it was a little while after that, I was actually born premature and I was an unexpected child. And I was in hospital for quite a long time. But when I come out of the hospital, soon after that, the household experienced poltergeist activity. So, and it's and you often find this with abductees. When you go back, especially those during the 1970s, that you often find there's a lot of paranormal activity before abductions begin. I don't know if that's for everyone, but it was certainly for me. I can't speak for any other abductee. Everyone's experiences are slightly different. But we had in the house, the cold spots where there wasn't none. And my mum when she was in the house alone, she would hear disembodied voices calling her name. And when she looked around, there was nobody there. It frightened her enough for her to run out of the room. And this happened quite a lot. We had objects moving around on their own, and objects used to go missing for days and then suddenly turn up in a different place.
Well, let me interrupt you just for a second. So your mother obviously was a believer in this. Did she blame it on evil, or what did she?
Or the
What was her
devil.
conclusion in the early days?
Well, my mum, I believe, was an abductee as well from her,
Oh,
her
okay. All right.
experiences. I mean, when my mum used to, during the war, she built Lancaster bombers in the munitions factories,
Okay.
during that time. But when before she did this, when she was younger, she was taken to the countryside, to Hereford. And it was there where she had some experiences similar to what I had with
Okay.
what we now know to be the Greys.
Okay. We'll go back to the home in the early days. Let's go backwards again. So this is all going on. She's experiencing poltergeist activity. It was where we left off.
Yeah. She had disembodied voices, and then I got three brothers, Francis, Kevin, and Sean. They're mentioned in the book when they have experiences. But during when I was younger, Frank had one experience he had, whereas a large wooden oak wardrobe was pushed on top of him whilst he was in bed, and he wasn't hurt, but he was in shock. And Kevin, once when he was going up the stairs, he was something pushed past him and pushed him down the stairs. So the activity started to become a little bit more worrying, in that people could be injured or seriously hurt. So,
Yeah, I'd say.
but because my family lived in a strict Catholic environment, and my dad was quite a pillar of the community, really. He wasn't just a schoolkeeper; he was involved with a lot of other things. He was a Grand Knights Templar, Freemason, and so at some point, he then decided to get the church involved, and he knew a lot of priests, a lot of cardinals, people of high rank in the Vatican in Rome. He had friends there, and he had somebody come in, and they walked through the house, and a little while after that, the activity stopped. I mean, it didn't stop completely. There was other breakouts of activity.
Did you guys find too that it would quit for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then start up again with a vengeance?
Well, you know what?
It
It didn't do it that time, but there was another time as we go forward where that did actually happen. There was times where it seemed to stop.
Yeah.
You think it had gone away, and then suddenly it starts again.
And of course, you're happy when that happens.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
people always think, oh, gee, this is so great. This is not something people want. Generally, they hate it.
No, not really.
It's
No,
upsetting.
it's not a good thing to have.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you got a friendly one, maybe.
Yeah.
So
okay, well, we'll keep going. So they reached out.
Yeah, they reached out, and then it suddenly stopped. But it was a little while after this. Then myself and Sean, we were playing at the time outside of the house, and there was just on the side of the house there was like a green, like the grass, a grassy slope, and we were playing on there one day. It was the summer holidays, so the school was closed, and we were playing kick around with the football, with like soccer, and it was after playing with the ball for a little while, Sean decided, let's go for a walk around the school, school grounds. So we went off, and we come to where would be the school hall, on the outside. And I remember that on where we were, there was a raised platform. There was a staircase, like a stone staircase that went up onto two platforms. So Sean was standing up there, and I was below the staircase, and I was actually, just observing the red ants, like fire ants at the time. God knows why, but I was, it was then that Sean called out to me and said, "What's that? What is it?" And then when I looked around, he was pointing up at the sky. And so when I looked in the direction of his finger, there was actually what we now know as, a classical flying saucer in the sky. And it was just there. I mean, the sunlight was shining on its metallic, so it was quite bright. But it was coming, it seemed to be coming closer to us. But at the time, it felt like the environment around us fell away, and we were enclosed in some sort of bubble.
Kind of a vacuum sounding silence.
Yeah. It's like what the British investigative researcher Jenny Randall's called the Oz factor, where the environment suddenly, vanishes, all sounds disappear. It's almost like you go into an altered state of consciousness. And it was then, that we, in some ways, we were frozen to the spot, paralyzed, and we were just looking up at the sky at this craft. And I mean, what's unusual about it, it was on a busy working day in London. So on the outskirts of the school, it was like really busy, and you often think, well, why didn't anyone else see this?
Yeah.
And there was just on the side of my house, there's one of the biggest police stations in London there, which is, there's always police cars going up and down with their lights flashing and sirens, and there's people working, in the warehouses along the road at the time. And, it's just amazing that people can't see what we saw, or maybe they did, but, because we were children, we didn't really question that. But
how old were you and your brother?
I was 4 years old and he was 6. So, and at the time, during the 1970s as well, in them times, we didn't have anything, so there was nothing to influence us. So, when we were watching TV, during them times, there was only 3 channels, and whenever we watched the TV, it was our parents with us, and we often acted as the remote control for the parents. So we used to sit there and basically, press that or press that, and so at the time, whilst we were paralyzed, I sort of come out of this paralysis and altered state quicker than Sean. So when I looked, the object had gone, but you felt like I looked over at Sean and he was still in this state. He was still like frozen to the spot. So it's only when
were his eyes closed? Were his eyes rolled in the back of his head? Like how?
No. He was just staring literally at the sky, like frozen in time, And it's only when I called out his name, I started to say Sean, like that. It was only then that he sort of snapped out of it. And he looks over at me and I looked over at him, but it was me that took off first. I took off and run from there. I just wanted to get back to where I knew my mum and dad were, in the house. They were having lunch. And when we run, we were looking at the sky to see if we could see it still. Obviously, we couldn't. But when we got to the what would be the kitchen door, we pushed open the door really quickly, and our dad scolded us because we scared our mum, because we just rushed in the door, all panicky, telling them that we'd seen this, what it was, this object in the sky. But but their reaction was a little bit abnormal, because instead of the way you'd think they would react, they didn't. They seemed to be calm and just said to us, "Okay, it just stay where we can see you, on the school grounds." So
is that because they had their own experiences, so this wasn't so abnormal for them to find out about?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I know later on, not then, but I knew I discovered later on my dad had paranormal experiences, and my mum had stuff, but my mum was actually an empath. She was very sensitive to people's emotions.
Well, you seem like you were lucky to have parents that obviously they believed you, correct? I mean, they at least believed you when you reported things. Or did they think you guys were making this up, this UFO?
I think sometimes they did, but this, in my book, I'm always going up to my parents and saying, "Look, Mum, look, Dad, I've had this, I've had that," but they're quite casual about it.
Did that bother you that they were so casual?
Well, I would, I often say to people that my family held a lot of secrets, but I think, looking back at it as an adult, during those times, a lot of the families after the war kept a lot of secrets. So, perhaps it wasn't that abnormal after all.
Got you. And before we go any further, can you describe this object? I know it was metallic, but was it vertical? Was it horizontal? How big?
It was just, from what we see, it was just like two, saucers on top of the other, two like plates on top of each other. That's all I remember of it, but I do remember it. And it was only, I've lost contact with my brothers now. I've not spoken to Sean for 11 years. We don't really get on, and I often wonder if our experiences or the experiences that we had, sort of separated us as siblings. But when I was writing my book, I had an opportunity to speak to him on the phone, and I spoke to him and I asked him if it was okay, obviously, to put his name in the book, and he said yes. And I asked him, I said, do you remember that time we were, in the school grounds? And and he finished my sentences. And he said, what, when we see this or when we see that? And I said, yes. And Kevin, he told me as well that it was often spoken about in the family by our parents when we wasn't there. So they remembered that these are events that were talked about, but obviously for me, my brother Francis and Kevin, they were a lot older than me and Sean. So, when they were leaving school and they were working, we were still basically at school. And so,
do you have any idea why you think you were chosen to be abducted?
Well, I don't describe abduction as being chosen. It's actually a curse, really, because it's, as I explained last year, I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, which is multiple trauma, and that mostly stems from my abductions.
So do you think it's just a completely random bad chance of being, obviously this sounds like this has really poorly affected your life. But do you think it's just a completely random draw
or is it generational? Sounds like you're hinting that it's generational.
That it's in your family.
Yeah, I think it's multi-generational. I don't think you're individually selected. I think it goes on in through previous lifetimes as well. And when you return here, they're able to trace you again and start again.
So what do you think was happening to you? Do you think they were experimenting on you, messing with your DNA?
Are they after physical examination? Is it disease study? Is it spiritual study? What do you think it is, Michael?
Well, we know the Greys, from research, we know that the Greys take quite a good interest in, the hybrid programs. They seem to be interested in that, but they seem to study also the electromagnetic field around their bodies, what some people call the aura. So they have a much more deeper understanding of our neurology, and I think they're interested in the soul as well.
Okay. So maybe physical and spiritual, both.
Yeah.
It's something that, that's something that's not talked about much. The spiritual side of, what they may be examining.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, from my own experiences, for me, the Greys, I do not believe the Greys are benevolent. I believe that they're malevolent. From the abductions that I've had and experienced with them, they don't show any emotion. They don't care in what they do.
Okay, and for our audience, malevolent means basically mean. I mean, that's a very simple way, second grade level way to describe it. But non-caring, possibly even wanting to hurt you, correct?
Yes.
That's scary. I mean, that's a scary conclusion. And how did you come to that conclusion, Michael?
I come to that conclusion from what the experiences I've had with them. I mean, my experiences are ongoing. The thing with abduction is when you're on the abduction programs with the greys, and it seems to be the greys that are the key to the abduction programs. I don't believe they are necessarily in charge of it, as such, but they seem to run it. But the thing with abduction is you start in infancy, and then it starts as a child. It goes through then to as a teenager, as a young adult, as a mature adult, and then a lot of the time when you leave the earth, when you die. And I think in the earlier days, a lot of people that had these experiences as abductees, they may have gone through their whole life not knowing that they were abductees.
Yeah.
And perhaps a lot of the subconscious fears that we have in phobias they may come from that.
So is it in your experience, do you believe the greys try to hide what they're doing, and the fact that you even know what's going on is kind of a fluke?
I think the abductions are basically insidious. I believe that they do take place covertly. I mean, if you think about it and you look at the research, the number of people that have been abducted from their cars in the middle of the night in isolated areas, I mean, that must tell you something. And also when they're, most abductees were generally in the beginning taken from their cars. Sometimes they were told to drive somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And then it began, where abductions were taking place from the person's house, from their own bedrooms, So, and it's often done under, the cover of night. They use screen memories, and they use, I think, for children, they would take an image from the child's head. It could be like Bugs Bunny, as an example, to lure that child to them. It may that then character that they're using as a screen memory, the child will follow. And say, as an example, it may go into a tree that has an opening, but obviously it's not a tree, it's a ship. So, if they were nothing, if it wasn't covert and they wasn't, malevolent, you wouldn't go to these extreme measures. If you think about what abduction is, if you look in any dictionary, and it will tell you what abduction is. It's not something that's nice, is it? It's basically someone that's taking you against your will by force.
Well, can you get into a little more detail as to why you believe they're malevolent? Obviously there's pain involved in that, are they doing physical procedures on people without anesthetic and then erasing their memories of the pain they went through? You can only imagine a child, having some physical operation done or procedure, you can only imagine. So maybe you can get into a little bit of detail.
I can tell you about an experience that I had when I just turned 16 years old. I was in the schoolhouse. I'd been out at the time in the school grounds. It was in the summertime again. It was a clear night, very hot. It was late, and I used to go out in the ground, so I used to quite like that. I used to go out, and on this particular night, I went out. I was looking at the sky. Sometimes I could see shooting stars going over, which was quite nice. And at an early age, I used to meditate a lot. So on this particular night, I sat in the middle or the center of the large school playground, and I was listening to some music that calms the mind, and at one time it felt like I was being watched. I wasn't sure if it was from above or around me, but there was certainly a strong feeling of a presence somewhere watching. And I carried on for a little while doing what I was doing. And then when it was about, I would say, 3 o'clock in the morning, I then went back home, and that house, as I described in the book, it was, covered in a sheet of darkness, so to speak. So there was no lights on. Everyone had gone to bed. And I'd gone in to, with that intention to go to get some sleep. I was quite tired. So I was going up the staircase to my room. And then when I got about 3 steps up, I had this overwhelming feeling that I shouldn't go into my room, that I should go downstairs. So, I went downstairs into what would be the front room. And, and at the time, the room was, slightly dark and slightly light because we had some really thick green curtains going along the windows.
Okay.
And just in the top, of the curtain, so there was light just coming through, a little bit of light. So it was getting brighter then. I lay on the sofa and they didn't put a cover over me because it was quite hot. And I started to close my eyes, but then after, I would say, maybe 10 seconds or less, I opened up my eyes and I felt immediately there was something wrong with the room. There was something in the room with me, and the only thing I can describe it as is a feeling of, menace or, something that you wanted to get out of the room. But when I tried to get off the sofa, I wasn't able to do this. So I felt my body was paralyzed. I wasn't able to move. I was able to move my eyes, but not my body. And it was, it was at this time I was struggling to get up. And another thing is I was trying to call out to the others in the house, my family in the house, and I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to speak. The only thing I could do.
Were you paralyzed physically,
Yeah.
or just your voice?
No, physically I was paralyzed
Okay.
in my body. And it was then at that time I was struggling. I couldn't move, and at this time you feel panicky because you can't move. I can feel the sofa below me and I can see the room. At that time I couldn't see anyone in the room, but when I was struggling for a while to break free, it was then that I felt a hand go on top of my head and pull my head back slightly. But on the feeling of the hand, it wasn't human. Yeah, it was almost like it had claws on the hand. So it's going on the top, pushing back my head slightly on the sofa. And, obviously that's going to cause you, that's caused me a lot more, like stress. Yeah. And
have you ever experienced sleep paralysis? Was it similar to that, Michael?
Yeah. I know what sleep paralysis is. I didn't start to have sleep paralysis until much later. But I know, I do know what that is. Yeah, that's quite scary as well. And you can also have sleep paralysis when you're coming out of your body, when you're leaving your body. So an out of body experience.
You're talking about like astral projection?
Well, they're two different things. Out of body is when your consciousness leaves your body and you're still in your immediate environment. You can move around. I'm actually I'm able to do that at will. So I've been doing that since a child.
So do you feel like I believe do you feel like you're naturally gifted when it comes to the spiritual? You've talked about being into meditation, and I think someone earlier on said that you had a gift for this type of stuff.
I think we all have the ability to do it. Everyone can travel outside their body. Everyone does it at night, and everyone can travel astrally if they want to. It's like anything else, the more you use it, the better you become at it. And it's the same with remote viewing. Everyone can remote view. It's just learning how to create the altered state to become receptive.
And how are you? It sounds like you're pretty capable of slipping deliberately into that state. Is it that people just struggle to find it? They don't know they're in it. They don't know how to get there deliberately.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I was being able to do as a child. And, as I explain in my book, there's a lot of my abductions that take place outside of the body. So they're not you're basically taken deliberately outside of your body. Your consciousness is pulled out from your body. And sometimes, in earlier literature, I believe, from ufology, maybe from the 50s, 60s, you've had beams of light going over a car in a, like we were talking about, covertly isolated spots. And when the occupants of the car are being pulled, it looks like through the glass or through the roof, they look back and they can see themselves still in the car. This is an out-of-body experience, an out-of-body abduction. And again, you get this sometimes where you've had people, abductees, a light is seeing above, the rooftops. A light then comes in through the roof into the bedroom, and somebody is again removed. This is again where the consciousness is deliberately pulled out in order for an abduction to take place. I don't say that happens all the time, but there are a lot more abductions that take place in this manner than physical.
Well, it's interesting. He was just, when you asked him that, he was just talking about having a hand on him he knew wasn't human. And you were literally, we stopped right there. Michael, do you want to continue from that?
Yeah, sure,
moment?
sure. So yeah, it was then, I had the hand on top of me, and I felt at the time that the being, whatever it was behind me, I know what it was afterwards. I felt that it was a male figure, and it was then that I had what would be, a classical grey figure approach me, but it was floating towards me, towards the sofa. And it had in its hand, it had a wand-like instrument that was glowing. And so when it got closer to me, it put this object in my mouth. And when it put it in my mouth, I could feel it burning my gums. It was actually burning. I could feel the pain. And I was screaming out, "Stop, stop, stop." In my head, not I couldn't move my mouth, obviously, but in my head, I was in a panic. I was in a sheer panic. I mean, I have a lot of trauma from that time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I was only 16, and it was like really, I can't explain it really. It was really terrible for me. And it seemed to go on. It seemed to go on for a long time. Obviously, it probably didn't. But when you're experiencing this type of stuff, it feels more longer than what it is.
Well, you had mentioned the tongue. Your tongue hurt. Can you?
I could feel like, from this object. It was almost like it was burning the insides of my. I could feel the pain in my gums and on my tongue. It was around there, and it was, And when it stopped, I when it was doing it, I actually wanted to try to break free. I was trying to kick it away, but I couldn't move. I mean, this was really quite horrendous for me. It was really difficult to deal with afterwards. They had full power over me. The only thing they couldn't stop me moving were my eyes. So I often. I believe they don't have control over your eyes, but over your body, they do. They're able to subdue you, maybe to stop you from escaping or to prevent you from moving whilst they carry out these tasks or these experiments or whatever it is on you, these procedures, should we say. And it was then that my head, when it stopped, my head was released, and I could see that this second person or figure behind me was a grey. But the the interesting thing about this one was when they moved off to the side of me, I wasn't able to move, but I could see then in the corner of the room there was a human there standing there, dressed in a military uniform, who was just watching. And at the time I didn't realize who it was, but later on I realized it was a US a military officer from the United States Air Force, and he was just standing watching. And when the Greys basically went to his position, they then vanished. I was then able, after a few seconds, to move, My body was really felt really hot. I was trembling. But the only thing I wanted to do, I wanted to get off the sofa and I wanted to get out of that room. I wanted to get away in case they come back. And so when I eventually was able to get up, I stumbled slightly when I got up, like when you're weak. It felt like I was drugged, and disorientated, definitely. And then I moved out of the room and sort of stumbled awkwardly towards what would be the downstairs toilet next to the staircase. And the first thing I did, I wanted to see what they did to my mouth. But when I looked in my mouth, there was nothing there. And so then I went off, and I collapsed on the floor upstairs, and I just fell into a deep sleep until hours later. But then
what do you think they did to your mouth? I know it had obviously healed or whatever.
No.
What do you think they did? And did that ever happen in the future?
Well, I was going to come to that.
Okay.
I don't think they didn't heal me. They created a lot of trauma in me on that night, or early hours of the morning, should we say. And that still affects me to this day. I mean, that's one of the traumas that I carry with me from that time. I mean, talking about it is not the same as experiencing it, of course, I mean, in my book, I go into a lot more detail in regards to that. Over the years, I thought about this and I was thinking to myself, did they put something in my mouth that I wasn't able to detect, or did they take something out? You see, but an interesting thing is, and I haven't put this in book 1, but I will put it in book 2, if I'm able to mention it.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's an experience I had again in this house, a little further along when I'm a little bit older. I'm standing at the sink and I'm having a wash at the wash hand basin, and then when I'm going to clean my teeth, a small object falls from my mouth that wasn't previously there. So it's basically a very small, very, very like miniature, perfect square metal with symbols on, with wires.
So do you think it was like maybe a tracking device or something?
Well, you know what? I kept it, and then later on, I actually went to visit in my local area a ufologist who was well known. I think he's passed now, and I explained to him some of my experiences that I was having, and he looked at it with a very powerful magnifying glass. And he could see as well. He said, "You're right." He said, "It has got symbols on it and it's got little wires coming from it." And he said, "What, this fell out of your mouth?" And I said, "Yes, it fell out of my mouth." And he said to me, "If you leave it with me, I have a friend who works for the Ministry of Defense, so in military intelligence." And he said, "I'll give it to them to analyze for you, or to look at. If it's something, it's something. If it's not, it's not." But he said, "It's very unusual that it's fell out of your mouth." And I said, "It wasn't there the night before," and it was like a perfect square, very, very, very tiny. And then about 2 weeks passed and I didn't hear anything. And he'd actually, when I did contact him, he said that the person that he'd given it to had left this department, and the device had gone with him.
Wow.
But at the time, where he was living at the time, he was a ufologist, a UFO investigator at the time, and he'd had his own experiences, I think, at the time with a triangular craft, So
had he mentioned he had seen similar devices? I imagine you must have done your own research. Did you find any literature that discussed similar devices?
Yeah, and somebody had mentioned whether it was Roger Lear, and I doubt it was because you're in the UK.
No, but at that time, Alex, I wasn't able to do research into that. The internet, like Google, didn't exist.
Yeah,
at them times, and also, as I explain in my book, when I did start to, investigate, I only had we had a local library, and the books there were very limited in what hardly anything to do UFO literature, even the paranormal, because also it's in that area where it's like Roman Catholics.
What about nowadays though? Now that we're older, we have these resources. Have you been able to find anything of recent that is similar to your experience? Other abductees?
Not really with that one. No, I have in my book. I've got an experience that I had that I did. That I asked the Scottish author Malcolm Robinson if I was able to add a part of this into my book, which he agreed. He allowed me to do that. So there's an experience that I have, which involves a stretcher, and he has, like a black stretcher, for an abduction. But the thing that I think with that is it's a little bit, the methodology between human beings doing abductions, as in the military, and the Greys, they're totally different. They act differently. Why would you bring a stretcher with you to do an abduction when you can float people? And so there seems, so with mine, this was an abduction I had with the Greys again in my house when I was a child. Shung had been with me at the time, but he was in the deep sleep and I couldn't wake him up. And I'd been at the time I was in quite a deep sleep. Something woke me up with a jolt. Again, that feeling, something's in the room, something's not right. There's a feeling of dread. And then I had 3 Greys at the rear of the bed. 2 of them floated towards me on what would have been my right hand side. And then there was a stretcher there, a black stretcher, which I was floated up first, and then floated down onto this black stretcher. And I wasn't able to move, but I could move my eyes. But one of the unusual things about it is where our bedroom was, our parents' bedroom was immediately next door. So instead of, what I would normally, you would normally in a situation like that, you would think you would be shouting or trying to, but in this time I didn't. I wasn't. And then so
were you thinking combative thoughts?
But
if I get my hands on one of these creatures, I'm gonna.
Not at that time, not as a child. No,
Okay.
as a teenager, yeah. When I was 16, I did,
Okay.
yeah. But when I was a child, I didn't really do that. No, but when I was when I was laid on this stretcher, I was floated up above the bed and through the windows. I went through the glass, and the glass didn't break. But in the experience I had before, I was telling you about with the Greys and the one light. So when I come out of this window, it was the roof, which was the balcony of the room below where I was before. So again, it's in the middle of the night, but if this was happening, why no one else see it? And so when I was on the stretcher then went up basically above the roof and then above the school roof itself. And it was then that I could see just below, I could see the house. I could see the house and the tree next to it, the grass. And I could see the buildings in the foreground, from opposite my house, adjacent to my house. And I could see the night sky. But as I got closer to a light, which was above me, but I couldn't see where it was coming from, the next thing I know, it was daylight and I was in my bed. It was the morning time, and on my pillow I had loads of blood, and it was literally from that time that I used to have loads of nosebleeds, and then I started to suffer from sinus problems, and I still have them now to this day. I don't have the nosebleeds, but I have the sinus problems.
When is the most recent time that you've been abducted? Is it still happening to this day?
It still happens to this day, yes, but a lot of them, as I said before, my abductions are taking place outside of the body. I have, when I sleep at night, I have to leave the light on. I don't turn the light off, never. And in the past, I've slept in the bed with a knife.
Are you the type of person that you've got a bunch of locks on your door? Like what you know what I mean? How has this affected your life on a day-to-day?
His electricity bill has gone up.
Jeez.
And that, yeah, that's true. But it's you can't, the thing is, you can't turn your light out. I mean, for other people, maybe I can't. It's just when I turn the light off, things often happen, or it could be just a fear from the trauma from your mind. I often say it's the inner child. It's still affecting the inner child. I say my inner child is still trapped in my childhood home, hiding from these horrors.
Yeah, I've personally never understood people who can turn all their lights off towards pitch black in their room. I can't do that. To this day, I've got to have some light going on. That was a real problem up at Snell because we had no electricity, none, and batteries we didn't have many batteries, and
Oh, spooky.
yeah. Anyhow, I just got back from a very scary subarctic expedition where we've had poltergeist activity or Bigfoot activity or something attacks the cabin like almost every night. It's pretty crazy. So anyhow,
Yeah, leave your light on. Yeah.
Yeah, leave your light on. Yes, I'm with you, Michael.
So
I'm with you.
Has anything seemed to help? What about like even just like your state of mind to resist these things? Have you, seeked help from people that have actually been able to help you get through this?
There's no help in the UK. It doesn't exist. I mean, in the past we've had support groups that are run by just local people in the community, but there's literally nothing in the UK for abduction. Doesn't exist. There's no help groups. There's no one you can go to. I mean, you're taking a big risk if you go to the NHS. The government funded medical teams. I did actually say in my book that when my dad passed and I had an experience outside of the body where I met him, what was being in a rainbow tunnel, it wasn't a near-death experience. It was an out-of-body experience that I had. And it was only when I mentioned it to the family GP, who was a good friend at the time of my dad, he tried to have me sectioned under the Mental Health Act. So taken away and taken away,
nice.
Sedated and held against my will in a medical facility, because he said, obviously, when you die, you die. But I told him, actually, that's not true. When you die, you continue to live.
Rockland was asking, is there a predictable time interval between abductions, or is it totally random?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Good question. Yeah.
Have you found a pattern?
Well, a lot of abductions, for me, they seem to take place within certain times, like, what they call the witching hour. So 3 o'clock, between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. It seems to be moving towards 3 o'clock. I tend to get a little bit anxious. And that's not to say that I have an abduction all the time, but it could also be, a past memory from that still continuing to, a loop, still continuing to play out those experiences for me. But certainly a lot of stuff normally happens for me between those times. And I think between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock, I believe sometimes maybe, it's only me speculating, by the way, on this, that possibly stargates or something open up and allow this activity to come forward, to come through. And, and if you're, not necessarily an abductee, but if you're sensitive to certain electromagnetic frequencies, it may be that you are able to pick up this type of, phenomena easier than others.
So you feel like that's when the most activity is?
So we have the time, but what about, is there a day of the week? Is there a certain month? Is there any kind of pattern that you've noticed? Is it
every few years?
Yeah, could it happen back to back, like, Monday and Tuesday? Or does it just happen on garbage night like mine? I'm joking.
Yeah. They can take that garbage away, can't they?
No, I always joke because I got to take the garbage out after these shows.
And if they forget it, you can get them to take it.
It's dark, yes. I always said, yeah, it's abduction night.
Garbage with garbage.
Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, is there any pattern you've noticed, Michael, in all seriousness?
The thing is, Doug, with this is, this phenomena has haunted me my whole life. I mean, in my book, there are some obviously good experiences, but they're not they're not with the Greys. These are much more spiritual experiences.
Okay.
So, in the book, there is a balance. And as I go forward with the book, so this is volume 1. Volume 2 will continue on from where it left off, basically. And as I continue to write the books, you'll see the different changes that have occurred and, are happening and how I'm dealing with them.
Well, you seem like you're dealing with all of this and very incredible.
You seem very calm.
I mean, yeah, you don't see, you'd be the last guy I'd want to lock up. Let's put it that way.
Thank you. The thing is, though, I mean, I'm talking to you now, but as the night draws on, I do get anxious. I do have panic attacks. I do have panic attacks. I mean, I have nightmares. I have flashbacks. It just haunts me. I don't feel chosen. I don't feel special. I just feel, at times, you just don't want this. You don't want the darker side of this experience.
Okay, well, let's go back. If they were benevolent, one would think there would be no trauma, right? They wouldn't sneak around in between 3 and 5 in the morning. They would show up. They would, communicate in a very above board way.
That's what I say to people. Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah.
So
they would allow you to volunteer.
Right. They would let you volunteer. They would talk it over with you, let you sign an NDA or whatever. But what I'm getting at, do you think that maybe they actually want to hurt people? That's part of something that gives them energy by hurting people. Do you think they're doing that on purpose? And I want to bring up one thing. My son Blaine, we were out fishing one day. What is that sound? Was that you, Alex?
No.
On the mic? It's not me. I know I can see it's not him. I don't know what that's like. We have a third person or fourth person on here. Anyhow, we were out fishing, Michael, and my son asked me, while I was reeling a fish in, taking him off the hook, whether aliens are benevolent or malevolent. And I took the fish off the hook and I threw him back in the lake. And I said, maybe neither, maybe just indifferent. But you said malevolent. So you kind of need to back that up, because I'm just curious. Do you think they actually, some enjoy hurting people? It's a pretty direct question.
Or do you think they just don't care about your state of
or
mind?
are they just completely indifferent? They don't care if they pop your eye out and do surgery without an anesthetic. Do you know what I mean? They just don't care, robotic-like. Or do you think they really want it?
Like, do they enjoy hurting you?
Enjoy hurting you?
I don't think it's a good question. I wouldn't say they enjoy hurting. I would say it's probably an indifference.
Okay.
Like, they're above you, so whatever happens to you, it's just they're doing what they're doing.
How we might treat a butterfly in a jar when we're a kid.
I would say it's probably like a lab rat, really, but it's I would have to say that human beings are worse.
Yeah, many of them are, correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm it's not often discussed in UFO communities, but I'm a MILAB, which is a military abductee as well. And that's something, I've discussed on other podcasts.
Well, can you explain that to people that have not heard about this?
It's a military, basically. It's somebody who is abducted by the military, and not necessarily the military that you understand to be the military. These are covert programs where people like not all abductees go on them, but certainly, you know, there are those that do are put into these programs. It doesn't necessarily, you know, it doesn't. You know, I'm from the UK, as I said, but the abduction programs which involve the military, that doesn't matter where you live, you know. And again, a lot of the MILAB programs can be physical, and they can be, you know, from outside of the body. Again, it all depends on your skill set.
So are you saying like the Greys or the military is like cooperating with the Greys, maybe for technology, or maybe because they feel they have to? I mean, maybe the whole species is being threatened. Like,
or are they possibly there to protect you, to represent you, or no?
I would say it's you know, there are, you know, lots of programs that are undertaken by the United States military intelligence community and in the UK and possibly across the world. But I would say that it's there are elements of the Greys that work alone, and there are elements within the military that work alongside them with their own agendas.
And does the military have the same type of powers to walk through walls, to disappear at will, as the aliens would?
I think the Greys are much more advanced than the military, but I wouldn't, you know, the military are a lot more ahead in technological advancement than I think a lot of the public understand. Whether they can walk through walls, I don't know. But
well, how are they getting in? How are they getting in your house?
Well, have you ever found any sign of entry after the fact?
No
evidence of them physically being there.
No, because mine are outside of the body. You know, you know, some of the MELABs. You know, there's a lot of MELABs. You know, a lot of the time that are agreeing with the abductions. They don't really. You know, they don't. I don't think they come out and tell many people. I mean, they might speak about it online or in Facebook or whatever in the groups, but you know, I don't have all the answers to the abduction stuff, alien or, you know, military.
But you do have memories of the military.
I've got memories, yeah.
Lots or just a few?
No, quite a lot. Okay. And also, you know, I mean, the trouble is, right, it's difficult because when you talk about out of body experiences, it's difficult for people to picture that. Yeah. You know, it's like you know, was Dr. J and Alan Hynek, you know, when he classified, you know, like Close Encounters of the Second Kind, where you have trace evidence, where you know, you have like somebody's got scars on their body, or there's a marking left behind from an unknown, you know, UFO or UAP, and you know, but with out of body experiences, especially with abductions, it's much more difficult to you know, to record this. And I think I've come across people in the UFO community that go, oh, you know, that's rubbish, or you can't do that. Well, you know, the military do it all the time. You got the Monroe Institute that, you know, that studies this out of body experiences, brain waves, frequencies, altered states of consciousness. So, and you know, but it's a difficult one. But then you know, in the past we've had you know, where we used to categorize and say that's the paranormal, this is ghost, this is a haunting, this is poltergeist. Then you had lights in the sky, and that's a UFO, and then you had the abductions. But now, you know, through looking at this phenomena, we can see now that it always linked together in some way. And it's the same with the out of body experience. What I try to explain to people, if you want to look at it like that is metaphysically linked together in some way. You know, all these experiences seem to be interlinked. Well, this is the same with the out of body experience. It's no different.
Are there any reoccurring characters, either alien or military? You know, certain people that you've come to know,
like,
or have repeated the abduction,
like a specific gray alien.
Yeah, or military.
No, I know what you mean. I know. No, mine are generally the greys, but there are different aspects of the greys. So not necessarily, not all of the greys, I would say, are involved in the abduction programs. The military are involved in various different programs, projects. And, sometimes they might change their names, or they might, say that they've closed them down, but they often open them up under different names in different locations with a lot more advanced technology.
But so you do not remember any reoccurring people, military or alien?
No, I have, I have stuff like voice to skull experiences, where you're hearing people, human beings, talking to you and saying stuff, and which is, it's, somebody asked me the other day, someone said to me the other day on a podcast that I was on, oh, you're a targeted individual, because this is the type of technology they use against TIs. But and I said, no, I'm an abductee and a MELAB. But I do come across a lot of the time military doctors, people involved in this way. But as I said, but as I said, though, it's difficult because, who do you tell?
Yeah.
Who do you tell? I mean, in my book, I've wrote about this stuff, and it's something, it's quite graphic, some of the stuff I got in my book. And it's in my second book that I'll have, it will have a trigger warning on it because it will be much more graphic. And there's a reason for this, because I want to show people, people that are non-abductees, people that are outside of the UFO community, that this goes on. It's real. It goes on. And it's affecting, possibly millions of people across the world.
Yeah.
And as I explained to somebody who I was talking to about my complex PTSD, I said there's a hidden community of people out there that are experiencing this phenomena, and they got nowhere to go with it.
Have you ever had a positive experience or feel like you've learned anything or been given any positive abilities through these abductions? Or has it all been negative?
No.
Deborah was asking.
Thank you, Deborah. That's a good question. I would say in the earlier days, one of my early experiences that I didn't say at the moment is I had contact as a child at 4 years old with what we now know in classical ufology as Nordics, the Nordics. So and I had a lot of interactions with these as a child, and these were good experiences. But as I explained, I would consider these to be benevolent. They were, like you were saying, Doug, they're not taking you, they're talking to you like a human being to a human being. So they're showing, respect. They're courteous, and and it was, I had these for a while, but then I had started to have the grey experiences with the greys. Sometimes I wonder if they come through first to prepare me for what I was going to experience as I was getting older.
So do you think the Nordics are working with the greys?
This is a question that some people ask. Some people, other abductees, have said that they've seen the Nordics on board ships when they've been on there with them. But but the question is, are they working with them, or are they forced to work with them? Unless maybe we get an answer from one of them, it's going to be a speculation. It could be 50-50, couldn't it? It could be both. I mean, the thing is, though, it could be, each one of them have their own agendas.
Have you thought about how many people on planet Earth are being abducted in total? What would be your guess if you had to just guess? Just take a wild guess, Michael.
I would say it's without saying the number, I would say it's a very, very high number. And what you got to think about as well, how many people have not come forward yet?
Yeah.
how many people can you count on that list that never knew they were abductees and now they're gone?
Yeah.
Do you think it's abnormal that you are aware of all these things? Like, do you feel like the majority of people that are being abducted, they just maybe, like you were saying earlier, just have some fear or some phobias, but they don't know that this is happening to them?
Yeah, and did all these memories just come naturally? Have you ever been hypnotized? Is another
like a regression
similar?
or...
Yeah. The thing
have
is,
you been regressed?
No. The thing is good questions though. But the thing is though, as a child, from my book, they're what I call marker memories, and I think they stayed with me, and I remembered them, possibly because of the emotional impact they had on me. But I can't say to you that I remember everything. I don't. The trauma comes from the fragmented memory of what I don't remember. What happened when I went into that altered state? What happened when I had missing time? So there's parts of your life that's missing. So in between those threads of missing time, what happened? So it's within those periods of missing time that I believe creates that trauma, that fear. Where does that obviously stems from somewhere other than, it's probably, part and parcel. It's partly as a child that you're frightened because you don't understand what's happening to you, but it's also part of the trauma from what you experienced that isn't nice.
Have you ever considered getting regressed?
I have. In the 1990s, I actually went to see a number of hypnotherapists, and they actually laughed at me and said to me I was crazy. And
why? That sounds so bizarre.
Yeah, because in the during the 1990s, I was living in a different area. I wasn't in London. I was in a place like Essex, and just on the outskirts of London. And it was then at them times when I was still having the abductions at the time, what I didn't realize is when I moved from my childhood home and I went into this other area, I thought that would be a hit. I didn't understand what was happening to me. I didn't understand that it would follow me, that the abductions would follow me, that this type of experiences would still continue. And they did. And not only did they continue, they accelerated into a much more menacing way. And it was then I thought, okay, something's happening to me. It's something wrong with all this. And, when you start to research it, I started to understand, you could possibly get regressed back to those times. But when I approached about 5 in this one area, and they said to me the same thing. They said, you're crazy, that this doesn't exist. And they wouldn't see me. And it was after that I stopped, because I stopped because at the time, I was still young and I was still vulnerable in many ways. I didn't have anyone to talk to. A lot of the time when I was growing up, I was isolated. I didn't have, there wasn't a single soul I could talk to. I spoke to the doctor. He tried to have me sectioned. And the only other person would be the priests, and the priests would condemn me to hell. So literally, that
nice choice.
So there was no one around that I could talk to. Who do you talk to about something that is so bizarre and so outside of what we consider to be normal? I mean,
aren't there groups over there like we have MUFON over here, and they do have regressionists and hypnotists that can regress you, but they don't have groups over in the UK.
You don't have support groups over in the UK.
Wow.
I mean, as I said, it's a very, and this is a good point. It's something that I bring up a lot now. That we need to have more of these groups, support groups. It's one. It's something I'm looking at myself to create a support group.
It's interesting. So John, who's got his message up there, he did this professionally with, people from soldiers and people who fought in wars and so on for many, many years. And I know that somebody it's too bad John doesn't, live near you, or you could get together with him. He's a very, very kind man who's brilliant, and he's very good at what he does. And I know he could help you. John, can remote regression be done? That's a question for John.
That's a great question.
With Zoom and StreamYard and all these video conferences. So,
I'm sorry. Just Deborah had an earlier question. Have you ever encountered any other abductees?
Yeah, that's a good
in your
question.
abductions? Even like when you're out of body, have you seen other people?
What I would say to that is I've come across other abductees. When I'm in a room, I'm able to pick out abductees. If I was in a room, I can tell if you're an abductee a lot of the time through feeling, through energy. But I've not had alien abductee. I've come across people that are MELABs outside of the body and physically that I've actually been involved with in certain programs.
Have you ever returned to a place you were not taken from?
Oh, you?
Yeah. In other words, you were taken from your bedroom and you ended up outside.
Yeah, you wake up in a cafe.
Or with somebody else's clothes.
No, I haven't. No, not that I can recall. No. But thank you for the question, though.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, Deborah. Or Lori, sorry. Let's see. So the question is to John Baranachuk, can somebody be regressed remotely? And I would guess the answer is no, because it wouldn't medically be responsible. So that's my guess. It's just too bad,
I mean, it's when I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, I had what would be a community mental health nurse who I could talk to. So it's like a talk-in therapy, and it was it was difficult at the time, but I went out on a limb really, but I decided to sort of open up to her and to see how put yourself out there a little bit. But enough so you can be, if it goes the wrong way, you can sort of pull yourself back a little bit with some dignity. So, but she was a younger person, a younger nurse, and I explained to her, look, are you familiar with the paranormal, or have you had any experiences? So I brought it up in a way that you're just asking, a question, engaging really how that person thinks. Because you're dealing with somebody, who's in the medical profession, and she said to me, I've had paranormal experiences, and I like hauntings and seeing stuff, and then so I took it after a few weeks. I took it to the next level, and I said that I've experienced this phenomena as a child, and I get taken as well by what wouldn't be non-humans, and instead of being ridiculed, instead of being like indifferent and that, she wanted to know more. So and she asked me, is there any literature she can read? And I at the time I said to her, you can read Abduction, by the late John Edward Mack. And she got a copy of this and she started to read it, and she said, it's really eye-opening, and I was explaining to her that there's no support groups around for people like us. We're a hidden community.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And it's very difficult because it's difficult to share these experiences.
Did you read John's answer to the remote regression?
No,
he
I didn't.
said basically, if you had somebody there physically, like that he trusted, then he could do it and work with you through Zoom or through, literally video conferencing to regress you. He sounded like he was willing to do it even.
Well, maybe I could talk to him afterwards.
Yes, I could put you guys together and put you in touch.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Definitely you should have a conversation with John. I'm just telling you, he's brilliant and he's very kind. He's a very kind human being. So,
I mean, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Doug, and also, thank you, John, for saying what you said. And and even if that's not possible, it'd be great to talk to him as well.
Oh, absolutely. So there was another question. Have you ever been taken from any other place? And we're not talking about the out of body stuff, but have you physically, do you think, been taken from somewhere else other than your bed or your bedroom?
Yeah, I was when we had that experience, me and Sean, we would have been taken then, and also a time as well, again in the school, when I would say about 14, in the school itself, when I was there on my own, with again with a grey, and a an altered state with missing time. This is something I mentioned in my book.
How much missing time have you? What's the most amount of missing time that you've experienced, Michael?
I would say about an hour, 30 minutes, an hour.
Okay.
But and again with Sean as well. Yeah. But with Sean, you see, I don't know if his experiences continued. This is something I don't know.
Why don't you call Michael? Why don't you just call your brother up? I have a feeling it's like a lot of siblings. No one wants to be the first sibling to call the other one. I have a feeling that you guys have a lot more in common than you might think, and you probably should really reach out to him. He could be your savior.
The thing is, though, I got 3 brothers. I've not seen only 3 of my brothers. So I literally don't have family, really. I mean, I got 3 brothers. I don't have any hard feelings towards them. We're just different. We're just different people. But we ain't, we're not at loggerheads with each other. We're just different in our personalities and everything. But both my parents are gone. My parents went at quite a young age, and my grandparents are all gone. My uncles, my aunts are all gone.
Yeah, that does tend to separate, separate families when parents die.
Yeah, it does. It changes, doesn't it? The dynamics change slightly. You
have to make a bigger effort to stay together.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I've spoken to Sean and that, but me and Sean, we were close at one time, but now we're not close. I've got his number. He's got my number. I do ask after him if I do, talk to my older brother, but again, we're not at loggerheads. It's just we're different people.
Yeah,
that's all. But I do feel though that sometimes that my experiences with Sean pushed us apart, because I think at some point he closed down where I was still having the experiences and still talking about them. So
sure, I mean, he might be far more afraid of it than you are.
Possibly. I mean, he I think he had earlier experiences as well than me before I was born.
Yeah.
What about you? Because you said you had, is it two brothers?
3.
3. So was it just you and your one other brother that had experiences, or was it every brother?
No, I got Francis, who likes to be called Frank. He's very nuts and bolts kind of guy, very left brain. But as far as I know, he only experienced the poltergeist activity. I'm pretty sure he didn't experience anything after that. And Kevin, Kevin has an interest in the paranormal, but he's somebody who'd prefer, if he was a haunted house, he preferred to stay outside rather than go in. If you know what I mean. So if he was if he was an investigator going on a ghost hunt, or he would stay outside and watch the cars, and let everyone else go in. And that's fair enough. And then you got Sean. He's had experiences. I don't know. As I said, I don't know if they continued in the same way that mine did. They could possibly. I can't really say. With my hand on my heart, I can't say. But I've asked him, and in the past, and he just doesn't say nothing. And maybe he did. There was times when he he got involved with a lot of trouble, a lot of troubled people, and that could be part of growing up as a teenager, but it could also be part of a trauma.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed about you, Michael, you seem to downplay it. All these experiences versus upplay it. You're actually, you may have never heard that, but in my opinion, you actually downplay all this, which is interesting.
Yeah.
What is that sound coming from? Did you hear that, Alex?
Yeah.
Or is that just me?
No, I heard it.
It sounds like there's a third person on our podcast.
There might be. Don't think about that when you're taking the trash out tonight.
No, I won't.
I mean, when I'm talking to you guys and that, when you read the book, though, if you read the book and it feels I'm not just telling you, the book shows you, it goes into a lot more detail. And in the book, when you're reading the narrative from each of the experiences, you'll be able to feel much more of what I actually feel inside. It's you're having these experiences, and you don't get used to them. You never get used to them, but there's an understanding that comes with them a little bit more.
Yeah.
But in the book, there's much more impact in my words that I've written down.
No, I get that. But I'm just kind of gauging your personality. You're definitely, you're not bombastic about this experience. You seem almost shy to discuss it. And that's a good trait. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good trait.
It's just, it's as I said, over, and as I said in the book, I knew for a long time I'd write a book. I didn't know when. I didn't know how the book would turn out even. But it's difficult because for the most part of my life, I've been alone with it.
Yeah.
And it's, it's difficult because you just can't, you just find it difficult to talk about. I mean, when I was writing my book and people said to me, "Oh, Michael, you're writing a book. What's it about?" And I went, "The paranormal." But the abduction stuff, I find it difficult to say.
Do you feel like all these experiences have been very isolating for you? That it's
for the best part of my life, yeah.
I guess what he's asking, how has this affected your social life? Are you married? Are you single? Are you,
I'm not married. I haven't got no children. I'm single.
Okay.
I've had people like literally unfriend me when they've discovered I'm an abductee. They're frightened because they feel, as an example, somebody, a couple that I met with, some friends, my friend said, "Oh, Michael has these experiences." I didn't actually want them to tell them because I like to, gauge people before I open up, and it's just a cautionary thing.
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel frightened by it before you have a chance to sort of break it down and explain it. It's difficult sometimes to explain it because you haven't got all the answers yourself.
Yeah.
How do you possibly tell other people?
Well, that's what I like about you is because you're not acting like you know anything.
No. You're
very humble.
We're just researching, that's all. Like I say to people, when you're doing research even, sometimes you think, "Oh, wait, I've got some answers here." Then a couple of, months up the road, you suddenly find, "Oh, no, that's not, that don't work." And that goes again,
Yeah.
So it's very much like looking for a needle, in a haystack.
Yeah.
But the thing is, with this couple, they invited us over, to have dinner, but then they got a phone call and basically said they don't want me in the house. Because in case they get abducted and to stay away from me. And, and they were like very vocal about it. And they said, "You're just a freak,
So they were afraid that this thing would almost like rub off on them.
What was that? Alex, is that you doing that? Did you hear that?
Do I do that every week?
No, you don't. That's why I'm getting a little freaked out because there was also a bunch of sounds or like video playing for a while there. So it started when my phone did ring. I did get a call, but I just silenced my phone.
I heard that, yeah.
And you heard that? That didn't come from me. I'm like, it sounds like this fourth person on here.
It's
kind of weird. Anyhow.
Thank you, Laurie.
Go ahead, Michael. I was going to ask another question. Go ahead.
No, you go first.
Well, I was just going to ask. We've talked about the Greys. We've talked about the military people, the Nordics. Has there been anything else? Any other creatures or things you do not understand that you've seen?
I've had, a lot of growing up and now demonic type attacks. I mentioned them in book 2. I've actually had people in the house that I was living in at the time who were actually in my bedroom where I had a lot of these experiences. They were staying in there and they had the attacks as well. And which they never went in the room again. So should we say after that? But some people say, I'm sure you've heard yourself and sing it, that the Greys and the demonic entities are the same. I believe that they are. I believe that they know each other, but they have their own agendas and they're different species.
Somebody said, Alex, you're breathing out of your nose.
I got to breathe through my mouth again.
Who knows? Anyhow, it's just kind of weird. I'd never heard that. Okay. So, I got distracted. I don't know how, but I got totally distracted with that sound.
Okay. What about the military dude? Rockland's asking, what the heck do you think that was about?
Well, you know what, though? That's a good question as well. Thank you for the question. It's sometimes I wonder if it was, if it was a screen memory even, but then if that person was really there, if it was a screen memory, but then you have to ask yourself, why would they, have 2 Greys there and then, a military person?
Yeah.
If it was a screen memory, you're trying to break it down, you're trying to logically understand it. It's possible that it was a real military person, as I was going forward and understanding I have these other experiences with the military. And they often say, with abductees, a lot of time they ask, is there anyone in your family that is military? Do you live next to a military base? I did as a child. I lived next to a military base, and also my dad, during the war, my dad was in the war in the armed services. My mum was in the munitions factories. My uncles were all military. It's only recently that my eldest brother, who knows a lot more information about the family, told me that my uncle had served in the special forces, in the SAS in Africa during World War II. And, something I didn't even know. And it's only recently he told me when I had an opportunity to, on a rare occasion, to speak to him.
Interesting.
But you often find, it seems, with abductees and possibly people who have, high strange experiences, have family members who are military. I'm pretty sure it's the same in the US as it is, in the UK and the world over. So that, there's definitely, I would say, something in that. Yeah, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in synchronicity.
Well, many abductees now, according to some of the researchers, claim that this hybrid program keeps coming up over and over and over. Is that something that you are aware of? Or has there been any, have you seen hybrid children? Has there been any thoughts about this?
I've got an experience I had as I would say as a child, but it's really, really fragmented, and that's something that I would like to look at. But and I remember being on the board of ship, and I do remember seeing children. But apart from that, I don't remember anything else of it. But it is something that it's partly there, but I can't get at it.
Okay.
But the hybrid program, as you said, Doug, it is something that is coming up more and more now
Yeah.
with abductees. There's a lot more abductees having these experiences and remembering them, that they've got children as well.
Yeah.
On these specific programs.
It's Dr. David, I think is it David Jacobs? God, I don't know why I can't remember his name. He is one of the main researchers that brought this hybrid program, because he kept claiming that so many people that he was working with kept bringing up the same darn things, even though these people didn't know each other. Do you have any direct, there's just been no memories of seeing children or anything?
No, there isn't. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not going to say if there isn't. I mean, I'm not going to fill in gaps that I can't remember even. But
I like that about you.
To answer your question, no.
Yep. It's good. That's you were definitely kind of a no-nonsense abductee. You're great to listen to.
Thank you.
Because I think everybody believes you, because you're not embellishing anything. You're really to the point. It's pretty. I think it's. I'm not saying other abductees do exaggerate, but I can say if you're going to believe somebody's stories, you're the guy.
Thank you. I mean, the thing is, it's not worth filling in the information or adding on. It's either there, or you either remember it or you don't.
Yeah.
And but like you said, Doug, and I often say this on all my podcasts that I've had so far, is I don't have the answers. We can speculate. I don't think any of us do, but we are trying to we're trying to understand what this phenomenon is, what it's about. Is it hybrid? Is it, are they interested, like you said, in the spiritual side of us?
Yeah.
In soul. It could be a mixture of all of them, but we don't really know.
Can I ask, you had said earlier that, at some point, like whenever you thought you had the answers or some answer, that
Alex, that was you.
Is that me?
I think so. Back your mic off.
Anyway, so you thought you had the answers and then you found out that you were wrong. Can you name a specific thing that you thought was true, and then later you changed your mind about?
Not off the top of my head, but it's it's just something, when you're going through this process, you have these thoughts that come into your head, and then you think, oh, it's not like that at all. I think it's more concerned with the programs that you're on. I've discovered that I belong to certain programs that come through, and it's also to do with you. You hear other people and they say that it's, when they have these experiences, they feel like they've gained something spiritually from that experience, or they've had an ability awakened. But from my experiences, I would say to them, or just from my experiences, I would say that I believe that we come in with those experiences, we come in with these abilities, and the Greys and possibly the military, they take those abilities, they use them, they enhance them, but they then stop us from using them. So they're using them for their own, their own objectives, for their own agendas, which I would probably say are not very. I'm not going to be good agendas. But we have those experiences. We have innate abilities, all of us. I can travel outside my body, so can you. It's just about using that, understanding you can do it. We all do it at night. We leave our bodies, we recharge. Our dreams come from those experiences, but they're fed through.
What was your first out of body experience? What do you remember about that?
Well, funny enough, my first out of body experience that I was aware of, it actually happened. I was actually flying outside the body. You're flying outside the body, and I was actually over the top of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco.
Okay, but
in real time.
No, but what I'm trying to get at, Michael, do you remember the moment you left your body, what you were feeling? Can you describe that?
Yeah. Well, funny enough, normally when people have those experiences, they begin to feel, what they call the paralysis, where you can't move your body. But when I first had these, I never had that. I just felt I could feel myself coming out of my body.
You
It was
didn't
very
feel
light.
heavy. You didn't feel heavy like a
No,
bag of rocks or any of that.
no,
Okay.
not the first time, but I come out of my body and it's an unusual feeling really, and you just float up and you can feel yourself floating above yourself, and I was literally where literally pressed up against the ceiling, and you can see your body below you, but at the time I wasn't afraid of that. It just seemed quite natural. But Doug, going forward, I did experience later on coming out of the body the paralysis. When I was lived in Essex in this other area, I did start to have a lot of experiences where I was at the paralysis, and you couldn't move. But I learned that if you relax, the paralysis starts to fade away.
Did you ever get scared, when this started happening, or you just accepted it? Because I've had feelings like I was leaving my body when I was really young, and I remember going up to the screen, up to the window, and I remember seeing the dust, with my eyes. I could see the dust in the big squares of the screen, and I got scared and went back.
I think coming out of your body is quite, for the first time, it's normal to be afraid.
Yeah.
Because we do it naturally, but we're just not aware of it. And I suppose, if we're not aware of it, it can be scary. But once we get used to it, possibly, and it's not, it's not like the abduction stuff, but it's something that all of us can do. I wouldn't say I can do them. There are times when they don't work. There are times when I've been outside my body and I'm going somewhere and then I'm redirected to go somewhere else. But I think that's sometimes to do with your oversoul, an higher part of you guiding you to somewhere else for another reason. But, everyone can do remote viewing. Everyone can leave their body. Everyone can astral travel. They're just things that we have that are part of who we are as, beings with a soul.
Yeah, sure. You make that sound so easy there, Michael. It's not.
It's not easy, but what the thing is, it's about retraining the mind.
Yeah.
And we're all made up of electromagnetic energy, and frequencies. It's just learning how to in tune those frequencies, like playing a musical instrument, isn't it?
Well,
how do you get to the point, like, I think the probably the greatest block for people is where they get no positive feedback, like nothing happens. Like, how do you get through your first big breakthrough?
I think it's one of the best ways to do it is to learn as well. One of the first phases I think of learning to leave your body is lucid dreaming. Where you become aware that you're dreaming. Sometimes you can get to the point where you're very sleepy. And then in that time, you can push yourself out of your body. If you when you're really drowsy, you're sort of in between, aren't you? The dream state. And if you're in that state and you try to keep yourself calm, you'll find that you'll be able to move yourself out of the body slightly.
Interesting. Have you ever, to change the topic, have you ever had any scoop marks, any weird bruising, any physical things like that happen to you?
I do. Yeah, I have actually as I explained to people, on my left leg, I have this was basically where I lived. I live now in the southwest of England, which is, close to the famous Glastonbury, where the Glastonbury Festival is, and the music festivals. You don't know, but anyway, it is there was a place where I was working, and I was coming home one night. I remember everything about the night, and then I basically I didn't go to bed. I slept on the sofa. In the morning, I had my clothes on still, so I was wearing jeans. In the morning, so after getting undressed and got into the shower, I looked down and I got a hole in my leg. Literally was pouring with blood. Yeah, literally pouring with blood.
Big? How
So,
big?
well, it's enough to put my 2 fingers in, literally inside the hole. And so, and then the thing is, though, it's only when I was in the shower and the water went onto my body that I started to scream, like in pain. And it was at the time it was bleeding. It was very deep. You could see right in. I actually, you could put your hand in it, literally, or your fingers. So I went into accident emergency, and they asked me, how did you get this? And I said, I don't know. I said, I went to sleep, and I woke up, and I got this hole in my leg, and it was bleeding. So they were tending to it. And when the doctors looked at it, he said to me, you know what? He said, whatever caused this, it looked like a laser mark. And he said, but the thing is, though, he said, you would have felt it when you were sleeping. You would have woken up screaming. It would have gone through your jings. And they didn't understand what it was. And I didn't understand. But the thing is, it's a burn mark, and it burnt me so deeply, it burnt through the tissue. So I've got a scar there now, literally in my leg. But then a week later, after having this, I had another one, not as bad, just below it, in the same place, on the same leg.
Wow.
But this one wasn't as bad, so it healed up. And I've woken up in the middle of the night with burn marks on this right leg, on the thigh. So and it was quite like that, a burn mark going right across. I have no memory of how I got it. The thing with bruises is, it's difficult with bruises because you could knock into something during the day. So
how about on your inner biceps? Any bruising from being grabbed?
No, not really, not that I know of. I mean, I did have this in my left eye. They call it like a drooping eye syndrome, where your eye. One day I had this when I woke up, and my eyelids was completely closed. I couldn't see. I went blind. But the thing is, what's interesting about this, I have a friend on Facebook now that I met, on the chat rooms, and she lived in the same area as I lived when I was having the abductions, and she had the abductions in the same area, and she had this as well, and the same eye with the same medical features. Now, I went to a medical hospital in London.
By the way, I'm going to bring this up because I just met somebody with the same issue.
Really?
Yeah, from possibly an alien abduction. Yeah.
But the eye's never been the same again. So the lid is, and for a whole year, it was watering. I couldn't stop it watering.
Yeah.
And I went to an eye hospital, professional eye hospital. They done loads and loads of tests over months. They said to me, we can see you've got something wrong with your eye. We just don't know what it is. And they flew over from California, a specialist, to see me. And he said he's never seen anything like it before. He don't know what's caused it. And he sees, and in the end, I just left the hospital because they couldn't help me.
Yeah. Well, where can people buy your book? Where can they get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you?
Well, you can reach out. My book's on sale on Amazon. It's on soft cover, hardback. It's on Kindle, and it's an audio book as well. You can contact you. I'm on Facebook, under Michael Kameron, and you can reach me also on my email if you want to, which is can I say it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's Michael Kameron 2022 @gmail.com, and you can reach me there.
Oh, great.
If you need to.
Very, very amazing story.
Thank you, Karen.
I think the world of you, Michael, and God wish you, ways that you can deal with this. John is very sincere, and even talking to you tonight, if you want to stay up a little longer, you probably don't, but Have you gone to bed already? And you're up for the day, or are you going to bed?
No, as I said to Alex when I spoke to him, I don't really sleep. I don't really sleep much. I mean, you know, at best I get 3 hours sleep in the night. I'm you know, it's again part of it is the trauma. Part of it is the PTSD.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm going to arrange. John is going to reach out to you on Facebook Messenger, which is the best way to talk to somebody overseas.
Sure.
And he'll do that tonight. And you guys can hook up tonight. I think he wanted to talk to you actually tonight.
Well, you know, I can engage him on the Messenger.
Yes. Yeah. So, John, send
you, John.
Michael. His name is John Baranachuk. And you guys got to get together. So, Alex, I think we're long overdue. We're out of time. So,
yeah. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, and thanks so much, Michael. We really appreciate it,
Michael.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to
maybe we
come
can
on.
get you on again and talk some more.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks for having me.
All right. Yep. And thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks. Good night. God bless it.
Good night.
Call you up in the middle of the night. Been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just